Man, like just about it. SFA Forestry is a really interesting place, and so I remember I got all these things, and I went down there, and most college buildings are really sterile. It's just sort of industrial carpet and white paint and just gross. And you go to SFA Forestry, and there's these huge ancient saw blades on the walls and elk heads and fish like that and all this history. And you're like, what kind of place is this? You know what? It's this magical place of all this history and all these insane objects where you're looking at everything and you're just trying to take it all in, and it's fascinating. So I remember being a freshman and thinking, hi, not only I felt like I belonged, but I also felt that there was this huge history of really awesome people that came before me. That I was like, man, I hope I'm worth this. I hope I'm worthy of all this. I'm good enough to be part of this.
That sounds interesting because for people that don't know SFA is, that's like in the middle of nowhere.
It's in the middle of the woods. Yeah.
It's like trees, and that's about it for like
Yes.
miles or kilometers.
That's right. You just miles and miles of pine trees and ponds and creeks. And when I went there, they've cut down some of the trees to make room because the school's bigger now. But I remember going there, and it's literally like in a forest. I mean, there's 100-foot tall pine trees on campus. And it's really neat. You're going to pass squirrels and raccoons and junk on campus, which is wild. And growing up here in Dallas, I grew up right off of Jackson Road over there.
That's in Dallas. People don't know.
Yeah, and so it's as far from wildlife as you can get. There's the tallest trees are like 20 feet tall. So when you go to the SFA campus and you walk past a tree that's bigger than this desk in diameter and 110 feet tall, and it's got a hawk living in it, you're like, man, I'm home. This is fantastic. It's like living in Pocahontas, the movie. It's cool.
This sounds really interesting. Like,
It is.
all of that.
That's
I
a
like
neat place.
the waterproof paper.
Yeah, and so check this out. Like I remember so you have labs, and so when you guys were all in high school, when I was in high school, you go to lab, it's like the back of the room, and there's like a sink, and that's as hardcore as it's gonna get. Maybe a Bunsen burner, right? That's as dope as it's gonna get.
Pretty much.
Turn on the Bunsen burner, whoop. Right. Well, the reason you have waterproof paper is because you're going to take notes, rain, shine, sleet, hail, whatever. You're out there in the classes in the woods, right? And so I mean, there were many occasions where I filled up multiple things of waterproof paper because the professor was out there in the woods, in the bush teaching in the middle of the rain, in a rainstorm. And you're sitting there taking notes on your waterproof paper. It's no joke. It's immersion. Like, we're not just going to learn about the woods. You're in the woods. You are the woods. And learn about it or change majors.
Like that meme that it's like the coach, it's like the flooded field.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what it sounds
Exactly.
like right now.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, we're still having practice.
One of the best lessons I ever got, no joke, my professor was like waist deep in a creek at the time.
What?
And it was a great lesson. And there were times in school where I ended up, so I got married while I was in college. You know what? When you tell your wife, my waders are wet. And that's just a normal classroom thing to say. Other people are like, I'm out of chewing gum. And I'm like, I got hailed on. Oops. It's just different. It's a different classroom experience. I wish I could teach like that. It'd be really cool.
Yeah, that would be cool because I'm a kinetic learner.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to actually do the thing.
For sure. And your senses are tied to memory in a really, really powerful way.
Oh, yeah,
Scent and taste. And so when you're out in the woods and you can smell the pine trees and you can feel the wind and those memories become so vivid. Like there are lessons that I'll never forget, and part of the reason I will never forget them is because of all the other senses that you're getting in the woods. If I gave you a really good lesson in 40 degrees in the rain, you'd never forget it, right? Just because you'd never forget that experience. And that's exactly the way we had to do like a class play one time where we had to act out what it's like to like the life cycle of southern pine beetles. And that sounds kind of hokey.
In college?
Yeah, in college, absolutely. But you had to do it in the forest. And no joke, it might have been 40, 45 degrees and like driving rain It was freezing.
Damn.
It was incredibly uncomfortable. And then you're trying to like be a beetle. You know what I mean? But so you never forget that experience.
Yeah, you won't.
And it was one of the best lessons I've ever been through, just because I was so horribly uncomfortable. You're so far out of your comfort zone. You can't forget that.